headphones like yanking out of your ear, like when the wire gets caught on something. That just happened to me right now. No, I legit just wanted to punch my laptop. I think the only thing worse than that is stubbing your toe. That, like, stubbing your toe, I'm just, like, ready to die whenever it happens. Every curse word possible just gets spewed out.
That's a different pain, bro.
Legit, the main reason I bought AirPods was because of the headphone issue. I was just like, it's got no wires at all.
I was gonna say, it was either Beats or like JBLs that had an entire ad built around that.
Yeah. And I've never related with the ad more. I was just like, you got me.
Yeah,
I will pay
that's
good
it.
money. Like,
That's it.
I just updated my new AirPods for no reason, but it was just for the fact, like, I hate wires.
Right.
Thank you, Apple.
Appreciate it.
But this past weekend, I was at a black wedding.
Okay.
And I was kind of like, do some side work, and so I was kind of working it.
Yeah.
And, bro, it was one of the most beautiful things I ever seen, dog.
Really?
That junk, it was dope, man. It was so, but I could tell, like, early on, but that the couple, they were from bro, I lost my train of thought. This charge fell off. What was I saying? No, so this couple, I don't know if they were from North Carolina, but they both went to like a HBCU.
Oh, okay.
So it was one of those where I think they were late 20s, early 30s.
Mm-hmm.
But man, it was one of the most littest weddings I ever seen. It was so hype. Like, the DJ was playing music and stuff, and like every track was a banger. And it was one of those things I was just like, man.
Bro, that's a beautiful thing when you get a DJ that only plays bangers.
Bangers, dude. Like, he was playing all, and it was not one of those, like, he was hardly playing any, like, new stuff and all. Like, he had a good mixture, but he'd play some old hits. Like, he broke out that Ain't I, Young LA with the remix with T.I. He played that. I was like, man, I ain't heard this in a minute.
Right.
I was hype. But the DJ was dope. But no, the wedding, like, the whole wedding, it just, and I've experienced this, like, for past couple of times now. I've seen something like black related event. Like, when I was in Atlanta, I remember one of the times I was at the club and swag surfing came on. I'm just gonna go ahead and say, like, there needs to be a Black Music Hall of Fame, and like swag surfing is like a first ballot Hall of Fame. Like, you don't ever fully experience that song up until you go to Atlanta and you see that song get played in Atlanta. Like, that is the anthem of Atlanta. Oh my God.
Yeah.
One of my favorite videos I seen from a couple weeks ago, it was at Howard University when they were they had a screening of Us, and in the theater they started playing Swag Surfing. That was the other moment where I was like, man, I wish I would have gone to an HBCU. Bro, I've never, like, everyone in the theater Swag Surfing, and it was just the most hype thing ever, and I was just like, damn, that looks dope.
Right.
But yeah, I've seen so many videos of, like, from HBCUs when that song comes on, it's different, man. Yeah. It is.
The dial turns.
The dial turns up. You wait for it. Then the beat drops and just. But nah, it was cool. Yeah, but it was one of those. The wedding was just. It was so dope because it was legit. 95% of people there were black. They had the 2-3 honorable white people in attendance. Yeah, they held their own. They held their own. But like, it was one of the best parts. Like, this is how it was just a true definition of like a black wedding. The groom's dad came out. Dude was wearing a hat. He had the shades on indoors. Shades, never took them off. Had the type of like dress coat type of thing that's like a trench coat. the pimp named Slickback
Yeah.
look. Yes. I think it was like the whole outfit was like a goldish type of color. My man matched from head to toe.
My
The
gosh.
hat match, jacket, everything came out dripping. And as they were introducing everyone, they introduced him first, and Buddy came out dancing stuff. And I'm like 95% sure Buddy broke out of splits. He like went down like because he was dancing and everything.
Yeah.
He was straight old head. Like if you ever seen any movie where they exaggerated it, like no, dad can't be like that, bro.
Bet.
Buddy was straight like that, and it was the last time I seen someone that just swagged out was Manny's grandpa. I remember a couple of years ago. It was when he first came back after joining the military, and they had a little party for him. Seeing his grandpa. Grandpa came out, full matching. You know, someone a old head OG when they're wearing a full matching suit for like a non-special event, not like like a.
Yes. 100%. Yes.
Yeah, when they just wear that in pub, like in normal.
This
that's
is
a normal attire.
This is a casual event.
Yeah, casual event. That's an OG right there. That is the epitome of an OG. But I was like, man, that is my goal when I get older. No matter what, gonna be coming out there looking like a straight old head.
Man.
But yeah, I mean, it was a dope wedding, man.
So were you doing photography? Were you doing like?
No, I was just helping out with like some of the, like just the catering stuff and all.
Okay.
But that was the one thing about it where it was not the black wedding. They served quiche. They like their food selection was hella weird. They had like sweet potatoes all chopped up, but like it didn't look good. They had some like other potato mixture. They served salmon crab cakes or salmon cakes. I think it was yeah, whatever. Basically salmon. Yeah, the equivalent of crab cakes, which those looked like they were good, and they served some beef and stuff. But it was like and they had hella food because they had a bunch of appetizers, and then they had muffins on the table. They had cinnamon. They had big ass cinnamon rolls on the table, and that was considered like bread.
Huh?
But to make like on top, this was when everyone sat on the table down at
Well,
first.
we had a lot of bread.
So after you had like 4 or 5 different type of appetizers, you go back, like they opened the area up with the tables. People sat down after the happy hour, sat down, and there's muffins and cinnamon roll on the table. Then after that, you start bringing out the 3. They had 3 sides, so it was 2 different type of sweet potatoes.
Yeah.
They had asparagus. It was like the most white part of the wedding, minus the 3-4 white people there. Asparagus, sweet potatoes, which is sweet. Like sweet potatoes ain't a white thing, but it was the way that was made. Hella white. Potatoes, the type that it's like hash browns. Cut up and everything, not the shredded, but like the diced.
Oh yeah,
like that. And then the meat selection. So that was definitely the down point of the wedding. But nah, one of the other hype parts of it, since they were both from HBCUs, so it was really cool. Like the bride, her and I guess a bunch of like the people Delta Sigma, whatever. Basically, they did the sorority frat stuff where they came out like sung their song, and this is the second time I've seen it like at a black wedding or whatever. But this one was hella hype. So they first came out like they'd get in a circle and they did their their frat sorority song, I'll say. And so that's like super mellowed out and stuff, and like they're all singing and it's dope. And then it ends. The DJ, like the girls, The girls came out. I forgot what song he played for them, but theirs was hype. Theirs was hype where it was like, hey. Yeah. And then the guys, like, the same thing. They got in a circle, did their song. And then theirs was hype also. But theirs, like, they had the full, like, step with the dancing. And, oh, my God, shoot. Bro. Dog, I wanted to just, like, bust out my phone and start recording. It was so hype.
I'm about to learn this choreo.
Bro, they were all synchronizing over here.
I'm about to learn this choreo.
Between the legs, clapping. There was one dude in the corner while everyone's dancing. He just over here would, like, he was doing those like half splits. Get up, half splits. Get up, half splits. Like he busted out about 7 of those, and I was like, bro, your ACL gone. Like that ain't healthy.
Boy, that thing an old rubber man.
Yeah, and it's not some skinny dude like me or anything like. Nah, he was like. He wasn't fat, but he was hefty. Like he
a dude.
He was like he looked like you play football when in college, and so, but it was super high. It was so that was one of the highlights. That, and then just when Swag Surfing came on, like something about that song, it'll do things to you, man. But it was cool. It was like
that's dope.
It was just hella black people in the same spot, and it was just the epitome of black excellence, which was dope.
Oh yeah, that's like when you even described initially like the wedding, I was like, man, that probably had to be just the coolest part about it.
Yeah, no, that definitely was. It was over here, and I ain't even gonna lie, like the bride was beautiful. She was beautiful.
Yeah, and
I was like, bro, good for you, though.
Yeah,
good for you. We'll get you a nice old red bone.
Yeah, good work.
I was like, God.
Yeah. Good work.
Light skin takeover, man.
I know.
Light skins. Let me stop. Light skins are taking over, but I ain't got no problems.
Right.
But on to other stuff. And this is the part, like, so that was Saturday. And it was super cool. Like, getting to experience that was just super dope for me. And then you have Sunday night happens where we get the news of Nipsey Hussle getting murdered in front of his store. And, like, it was just such a weird, drastic flip for me where here it was Saturday. Like, experiencing this wedding and stuff. And it was just like, man, I love my people. Like, this is just beautiful. Like, getting to witness that, and like, man, like just so many successful black people together. Us being in this environment, celebrating, living it up. It was so cool, and like everyone just like, it was just so much positivity going on, and just seeing that it was so cool. It was like, for me, I was legit getting emotional, and me and a couple of the other dudes were just joking around. I was like, this is hella dope. And like the whole time we were just watching and like in appreciation. And then you get something that happens the next day where you get this like iconic figure where like 90% of America didn't know who he was before yesterday. Right. But like for true hip hop heads, and not even like true hip hop heads, if you follow hip hop well enough, like you know of him. Yep. And even one of those things where, like with Nipsey, I first knew Nipsey like early on when he first came out, a lot of his mixtapes and stuff like that. Listened to it, and even listened to Victory Lap last year. It was his most recent album, which is a super dope album. And for anyone, like anyone LA, like I love LA. Mm-hmm. Like didn't grow up exactly in LA. I was on the outskirts of it, but like in Southern California, you basically like 30 minutes away or whatever. Like everyone is LA in that Southern California area, basically. And so I got love for LA. And so, like, unless you're super garbage, Blueface, like, I'm all for, like, representing LA and the artists and just the things that come out of there. So I was always a Nipsey, like, fan in the sense. Like, I always appreciated his music and liked what and I, like, I learned a lot about just the different stuff he was going on, like he had going on through interviews. They had him on the Breakfast Club last year when his album was dropping, and he was just talking about different things he was going on. I knew about his store for a while now.
Yeah.
He's had that store open for a bit. I remember when he first like opened the store, hearing about that. It was super cool.
Yeah.
And selling all those Crenshaw gears, and this one hurt. And this one hurt. This one like when Mac Miller died last year, that one hurt. But this one hurt on a different scale. Like this one was just like the Mac Miller one was super unexpected, but in a way, when like you found out what happened, it was just one of those. It was like it hurt because like you knew he struggled with drugs and stuff like that, and if it was one of those where it's like you had me guess what would like finding out he died because of an overdose wasn't the most surprising thing ever.
Right.
It was just one of more like sadness of it and just knowing all the like depression and stuff he dealt with. But this one, it was just one of those where it was just so out of nowhere, and just the fact that like how much good this man was doing. And it's really one of those things, I think, where a lot of people, like you look at hip hop, you look at gangster rap, especially like gangster rap is rough, it's hardcore, it's like explicit to the max, a lot of gang stuff and all. But when you look at it through the spectrum of the music, you can just assume like you write off that person as like, oh well, he was involved with gang stuff and all, and like that caught up to him. But this was not that. This was not that. And this was just, I mean, dude was in front of his store. A store like that's been open for a while now. He's like loved, and it just didn't make any sense because
no.
And it showed immediately. Everyone was just like, this doesn't make sense because he's so well respected in LA. Like everyone knows Nipsey, and
yeah. So Lyndell disclaimer. So this all became kind of a disjointed discovery and experience for me because I had seen the news report when he opened his store, and the news did a feature on it way back when he opened it.
Yeah.
And I had seen that video before, and I remember thinking to myself, okay, that's dope. But I did not remember, like it didn't cause me to remember his name. So fast forward to, and so I didn't have a face to the name. I knew of him, but that was basically it. So when I saw the initial police report, or at least people on Twitter talking about, he's gone, I was like, dang, that's crazy. So I started looking stuff up, and then I started seeing stuff that he was doing for his community and stuff like that. And then I found somebody who reposted the news feature of his store and all that stuff, and it was crazy. And I didn't even tweet this today because people are still mourning that and still talking through it and talking about it. And the more I read about what he was doing, man, the more frustrated and sad I get, because, and I'm gonna choose my words carefully here because I don't think we ever need to. I think we need to not grow used to death. I think it's really important for us as a people as a whole to not grow accustomed to death.
Yeah.
But like what you said with Mac Miller, like it hurt when he went. Especially when you think about not just his contribution to music, but what he was struggling with. But because of what he was struggling with, it didn't surprise you.
Yeah.
And I think you hit the nail on the head when you say a lot of times when people on the outside looking in, when they think about the type of music, the culture, or whatever, and you hear that somebody's gone, you kind of go, oh, well,
Yeah.
That doesn't really surprise me. This was different.
This was completely different.
This is different. And I'm not the type of person that's going to get into like theories and stuff like that, but there's a reason why people are saying this does not feel right.
Yeah.
There's a reason, and the biggest reason is because, and I've learned this even here in Raleigh, gangs don't mess around with community leaders.
Yeah.
They don't. Gangs will mess with other gangs, and for the most part, they have run-ins with the police because they're generally doing illegal stuff. They don't mess with community leaders. They don't mess with elders. If you're and what a lot of people do not know is that a lot of gangs actually do a lot for their community. Like they protect their community, can provide for their communities, and for people who do that, for the most part, they don't get gunned down by gangs. So if you're wondering throughout this whole situation why people are like a part of the hurt is confusion, it's because, and I'm not even sure if senseless is the right word, but it really was. Like, if you're gonna take anybody, why are you gonna take somebody who is trying to rebuild his own community, and not just rebuilding it, like pouring into local artists, local business people, and like the community as a whole, pushing education, partnering with the LAPD.
I mean,
insane. Like it just didn't. Yeah. So it doesn't sit right with people, mainly because of the contribution that he was having in his neighborhood and this city.
Yeah. And this reminds me of a Twitter post I saw yesterday that Propaganda had kind of quote tweeted, and just talking along the lines of what you were saying along with the gang affiliation stuff. And this was by D.A. Horton. And he basically said, for many African American and Latino youth who are raised in communities of systemic brokenness, poverty, violence, etc., gang affiliation is a natural way of life. For many, there are no alternative options. There are nuances to be considered. For some, their family affiliation is 3-4 generations deep. It's woven into the fabric of the family identity, similar to religion. To walk away is not simply a death sentence. It's worse, a life of lonely banishment from their own family structure. For some, it's making a life-altering decision at the age of 10 because they're tired of being jumped while walking home from the corner store, playground, school. For some, it's about finally receiving positive affirmation from a male figure of the same ethnicity. For some, they want to wild out in their depravity. For all, it's a way to cope with the deep saturation of hopelessness that reigns in our communities. There are layers of pain that systemically bombard us nonstop. So please, withhold judging an individual when headlines share they were affiliated. Growing up in the hood is very complicated. This is why we need the whole gospel and the whole church. But yeah, I think it's just one of those. It reminds me, we talked about it a few months back, but there's that Killer Mike has that show on Netflix I was telling y'all about, and he does one episode with the Bloods and Crips, and essentially was just, he met up with some Bloods and Crips from Atlanta, and they were kind of, he essentially saw that the Hells Angels, I think it was,
okay,
like they're essentially a gang. They're a white motorcycle gang.
Yeah.
But like they were selling gear and merch on Amazon.
Yeah,
they were profiting and stuff like that. And he essentially approached the Bloods and the Crips about, trying to sell their own merchandise, and he kind of gave them a platform, the gang he was meeting with, and they were just talking about, it was like, yeah, we actually like do a lot for the community. We protect the community and stuff like that. And that's like nuances you don't see. And especially now, like when you really think about it, like the gang culture has like evolved way more than what it was 10, 15 years. It's not like at its best. It's not, there's still definitely crimes and stuff as we see, and like just things that don't make sense that happen. But I think for anyone looking in on the outside, especially if you're white, like you can't be quick to just, oh, he was a gang member. Like you can't. It goes deeper than that.
Up to gang violence, like.
Understanding gang culture. Like I grew up in Southern California. Like I said, we were about 30, 40 minutes outside of LA, and I remember when I was younger, I considered like me and my friends, middle school and stuff like that, we'd wear bandanas out of our pocket, and like I've told this story before, but in my middle school, you couldn't wear a plain white T-shirt because I was gang related. They thought I was gang related, and we used to, just out of like not even knowing more, but it was just kind of along that idea of like community and stuff, where I knew some friends who considered themselves Crips, so I was like, oh, you know, like I consider myself that also, and it was none of those like never gangbanged or anything stupid like that. Like we might have done some graffiti and stuff, but it was just one of those like the culture of people around you, and it is that type of like you're looking for community, and it's one of those like I knew these guys had my back. They were my friends, and so it was just easy. And it's one of those we didn't know better, and we weren't actually gonna like do. It was one of those like it was a group of friends, and we considered ourselves something like this where not knowing any better. And so I think it's just one of those. It goes a lot deeper than what media portrays it, just what media portrays it and what society portrays it. The gang culture goes a lot deeper. Not making excuse for like the bad shit that happens, but it's just one of those. It goes deeper than you understand, and so don't be quick to make stupid judgments, and be quick to judge someone like this. And I think the thing that's super tall telling about this case with Nipsey, why it was different and why like you'll understand what we're trying to say is, I mean, I've never seen, and I wasn't obviously, I mean, I was alive when Biggie, Pac died and all that, but like I was maybe 2-3, so I don't remember none of that. But for this was different because immediately you saw outpour for everyone. I've never seen such universal. I mean, the damn LAPD have like tweeted nonstop about this. Like the LAPD, the commissioner that night had came out. It was like me, Nips, and Rock Nation. Like they were gonna meet. Like they were gonna meet Monday. Yeah. They were gonna meet literally not even 24 hours later. They were supposed to meet to talk about how they can like work on just the gang violence that was going on in the city and just trying to, bring that to an end. And that's crazy. That's crazy. Especially like for LAPD, it has its rep with some stuff. Like you don't see that often. I mean, you had the Lakers, I just saw USC tweet something like about that, and it's one of those like, this is big. Like, dude had a huge impact, and like I said, 90% of America, not even 95% of America, probably never knew who this dude was up until 2 days ago. But like the impact he was making in that community was huge, and there's so many videos and different documentaries, and it's just like, as sad as this is, it's just cool to see so many people rally around him. And like you had the couple of like early on nuances where it was just the news coming out, it was like gang related, but that narrative switched quickly, and I saw that get shut down quickly, where everyone's just kind of praising the good work he had been doing. Yeah. And I mean, and one of the things I was going on early on was also the conspiracy. Like the two things I hate, and the one thing I've started to hate really, I've seen people start doing early on, was like one of the first things I saw was just like, oh, here come out all the fake Nipsey fans and stuff like this. Shut up, bro. Where with something like this, it's like it's completely different. Like it's one of those, especially like all the people that were saying that were like black people, and it's just like, this goes way damn deeper than being a damn fan, dog. Right? Like, like one of our own just got killed. One of our own who's making an impact in the community, who's like changing his own community, which the
who's
black
community
a living
has
example.
A problem as is pointing back into their own community. This is a dude who's doing
this
it
is
right.
way beyond just music, way beyond music. Like for him, like just to try to like minimize all that he's done to just his music, and like what the hell matters if someone like mourns the death of, maybe they didn't listen to his music and stuff, but like you find out the work someone's doing, like that's gonna hurt. We mourn when other people die, like when the Trayvon stuff happened and all that, like there's people mourning and stuff like that. It's one of those, like, you've never heard of the kid before that, but we understand.
Yeah, you don't know his family. You've never been to his city.
Yeah, so like, it's just and that's part of the. I think that's part of the the part of the music that's super annoying with some, where it's like you were on a day one and all that garbage stuff and all. But that like bothered me early on when I seen that, where it's just like, one, like we said, like this was way different, and this one was especially with him, because like when X died, like that one received reaction of everyone was just like shocked that it happened, and it was just kind of that. But this one, it was like shocked that it happened, but also like true deep sadness from a wide variety of people. And it just sucks, because dude was doing so much for Crenshaw, for Compton, for that area. I mean, he had his store open. He had built a basketball court across, I think, from his old home or like around his old neighborhood. And, partner with, it's one of those, I would encourage you to just kind of, and especially now, all the videos of stuff he's done is surfacing, just kind of watch it and just learn. And I think it just helps people realize that, I don't know, just.
So I saw something, and it's actually part of that is the reason why I was hesitant to even like stuff, because again, I got to remember that when you like stuff, it shows up on your followers like timelines and stuff, because I didn't want to create the image that like I knew more than I was letting on, or I knew more than I actually did, and I cared, well, by extension, I cared more than I actually did, more invested than I actually was. So I tried to be careful about what you retweet, what you share, and I shared a couple different things. I liked a couple different things. This one summed it up for me. XXL Magazine has a quote from LAPD Chief Michael Moore, and he said, "I saw the name Nipsey Hussle, and then I looked at it again, and I looked at it again, and I was like, I can't, like, I could not believe it. This is a voice that was actually trying to help." And the person that I actually retweeted it, that responded to it, he said, and this is an Inglewood guy, and he said, "Bro, this man is being mourned by the LAPD. Do you know how impactful you have to be mourned by Bloods, Crips, essays, and cops
and LAPD?" Yeah,
all
of them.
Which kind of leads me to my next thing. A couple hours ago, it was released that the suspect had been apprehended. And yesterday, I kid you not, bro, I finally, after reading and catching up with all this, it was the first time that I ever thought to myself, I hope to God the cops get to this dude first.
Oh, yeah.
Because and I tweeted this today, I quote tweeted the police report that they found a dude. I was like, thank God, because the streets wouldn't have uttered a word.
Oh, it would have been over for him.
There wouldn't have been a word. There would not have been a word exchanged. And even, it was crazy, because even on social media, LAPD had to tell people to chill out. They were like, yo, if you have any information, let us know. But they had to legit tell people to chill out, because the green light was given. And I've never seen anything like that before on social media, where people were just like, green light. And were sharing information. They were like, yo, if you see anything, yada, 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 yada.
Yeah, no,
green
it
light.
was, no.
I'd never seen anything like that. And my whole time going, and this dude deserves to be punished. If it's him, he deserves to be punished.
No,
and it was the first time I was like,
I'm glad they got him alive, because, one, I want, we deserve to know, what the hell led to that, because that's the part that's just most confusing and
easily
no, we need answers, because it's just it's just wild. It's just super wild. And you just saw so much unity from the LA community and stuff like that. I mean, there was so many people that just showed up to a store yesterday, and I know it kind of got there was a huge stampede that broke out afterwards, because people thought like they heard gunshots and stuff,
Yeah.
but that was just it was a false alarm.
Yeah.
But like just in the current climate we're in now, like
Oh yeah.
you're gonna have paranoia like that,
Yeah.
no doubt.
How
And,
easy
like,
would it have been at a like a memorial or something like that? How easy would it
for
have
someone
been
for
somebody to say something about something reckless? You know how it goes. Somebody says something reckless, and somebody goes, "A word," and it's all of a sudden, you know. So it's tense, man, and it was crazy. And even like one of the things that I saw today, and this is how I've always felt. I think the rivalry between northern people don't understand. I don't think people get it. The rivalry between Northern and Southern California is more unique, I think, than any kind of like state dynamic than in the United States. And it was crazy because as cats from Oakland, cats from San Jose, cats from Hayward, Fresno cats were pouring out love and support for Nipsey and his family.
Yeah.
People who like literally never been to the state, never lived in the state, were like, "Oh, you're not even like Southern California like that. You're not even LA like that. Why are you saying something or whatever?"
Yeah.
And then LA folks were like,
"Bro, shut up." Yeah.
You ain't from Cali, bro.
Yeah.
Like, you keep your mouth shut. And like that's part of extension has been cool too. Like,
Yeah.
because people don't understand that. Like, because we like Southern California and Northern California rag on each other all the time, and they're completely different worlds.
Yeah.
When it comes down to, and I've always said this, but when it comes down to it, don't mess with that state. Don't really don't. And it's it's crazy how unified people were.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing. Like I'm saying, I've never seen just over someone famous to like a community unite that much. And it's not even. I think with something like this, we just haven't. Like this is for many of us, like millennials, who it's affected the most. That like this is the first time we've seen someone like this that was influential in a way just get murdered. Like this is the epitome of Pac and Biggie for us.
Yeah.
Which is one of those things like I'd never thought like would happen. And it's just weird, man. After like the Mac stuff and then now this, it's just one of those. It's just so sad, and especially with all the climate of everything that's going on, it's just like at the end, like I had to like I deleted my like basically Twitter and Instagram just for all of yesterday because I was just like I just don't even want to be on, because I think part of it with social media in this time, it's great because like it was cool seeing all the people rallying for it, but you also just see all the little stupid crap that like people start spewing all their conspiracy theories and stuff like that, which like none of that matters at the moment right there. Like you just got murdered. The first thing someone, I don't, it just
people, and this is I'm not going to say that this statement is 100% accurate, but the thing that bothered me most about the conspiracy theories and really just the conspiracy theories in general, you expose yourself if that's the first thing you start talking about.
Yeah.
Now, if you're concerned that the LAPD is involved, that was different. But the gang violence stuff, the doctor, what's his name? Whatever his name is.
Sebi.
Yeah, whatever. That stuff, okay? You kind of expose yourself a little bit if that's the first thing that you start to bring up. And what I mean by exposing yourself is if you've lived in a community that has sorely needed somebody of the same color to pour back into the community, that's not the first thing that you bring up.
No.
If you've ever lived in a community like that was in dire need, or even had community leaders that pour back in to their community and neighborhood, that's the first thing you don't. That's not the first thing you bring up. All the people that like quote unquote fans that were like off like minutes after this dude was pronounced dead, they're talking conspiracy theories. I'm like, you're exposing yourself. That's how I know. Like, you trying to act real. You trying to act hard. That's how I know you grew up in the burbs or you were shielded from any kind of real adversity in your neighborhood, because if you had any kind of perspective on a situation, you would just either keep quiet or you would take the time to mourn and grieve like a normal person. You completely disrespect what's going on by saying, "Oh, what if such and such, such and such, bro?" Just he gone.
Yeah, for real.
The suspect's in custody. Hopefully, we'll find out what really happened. Other than that, stop trying to first. And all y'all like fishing for clout, you can get off my timeline too. All y'all trying to get clicks and hits and stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's
all y'all sources, people, get the heck up out of here.
Yeah, that's one of those where it's. I mean, people, as sad as it is, people use those times because they know. Like, that's just, and it's one of those. It's like with sports. You hear some of the most ridiculous takes in sports because people just know that's gonna get. It's Trump's the greatest example of it, where he says shit that he even doesn't believe in stuff, but he knows it's gonna get people riled up,
right?
And so like. He's genius at doing it at the right time where like, and it's not even at the right time at this point. It's just whenever for him, and people are still going to react to it. I mean, a bunch of his tweets get like 50,000 to 100,000 likes, retweets and stuff like that. And that's not like, I'm sure a lot of those people like it, but a lot of it also is people retweeting it to like give their own opinion of it and stuff. And part of the reason was stuff like that and people like that, where a lot of times like we try to like you retweet something to like diss somebody, but you're still essentially showing them the attention they want.
Right.
Because say your tweet gets 20,000 retweets. Yeah. That's his tweet attached to it. Like, he's still getting the attention.
That's why I don't like, comment on, quote tweet, none of that stuff, man.
Yeah, that's why, like, so for so many of you that, like, follow Trump on Twitter, like, what the hell are you doing that for? Yeah, it makes no sense, but...
Has Twitter started paying people yet?
Paying for what?
My thing is, if YouTube already pays for views, I wonder if at some point Twitter going to start paying people for what's the word? I forget what... for engagements.
Clicks,
for engagements, basically.
Maybe. I'm sure, like... I mean, there's influence... Like, influencers are biggest you see on Instagram.
Yeah.
Where, like, people get paid
content
for that. And I'm sure there is... to a certain, I'm pretty sure there is to a certain extent on Twitter also, but
because I'm out here to help people go broke.
Yeah, yeah.
Some of y'all need to go broke. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah, but no. Anyway. Back to the Nipsey stuff. It's just as sad as this is. It's cool to just see how that community, the LA community, and even just all of the country all around, like, it's two aspects of it. LA community from, like I'm saying, I've never seen, even with like celebrity deaths where like it was I've just never seen where the whole community, like you had, I'm telling you, sports organizations, you had the cops, you had so many different aspects of those parts of the community is just kind of all mourning that loss. Yeah. And that just goes to show the impact of it. And it was super did
big. Such a great
and it was quickly.
Off.
And it was quickly.
Yes,
it was quickly. That's the difference with it.
Good job of making sure people knew. Yeah. Like that was something. One thing I was so proud of was how quick LA was like, we need y'all to know who this dude was.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that the music was just a small slice of what this dude was doing for his people, for like his community.
And that goes back just to my other point of like the people with the none of y'all were true fans and stuff. And the other cool thing about it, where you just like, dude was smart. Dude was a genius. Like, he owns all his masters. And so, forget getting all the fans and stuff. Like, as soon as he died, like, I want a bunch of people. Like, we want a bunch of people listening to his music, especially since he owned all his masters, because he left behind a fiance and kids. And like, I don't know how many. It might have been one or multiple kids, but nonetheless, he left behind a family unexpectedly, and like, that sucks. that hurts. Like, that family is hurting bad, and this is the easiest, like, least, like, the most quickest way someone could give back is just through listening to streaming his music, because he owned all his masters, which is dope. And so all that's going to go towards his family.
Your boy was about to try to find out how to get one of them Crenshaw shirts.
I was looking also, like, online. I want to figure out a way to support that store and all. But it just sucks. It just sucks. And it's one of those where I think with the African-American community, where we just kind of, you just take a look at it, where we have a lot of issues with just how America looks at us, but also we have a lot of issues within. It's almost like what we talked about with us last week, just kind of the, looking at the outskirts of it, but a lot of the times the issue may be coming from within also. Yeah. I mean, it was one of our own that took him out. And, like, that sucks. That hurts. Yeah. It doesn't make it any better if it wasn't, like, it shouldn't have happened at all, but the fact that you just know it's one of us, even more, it's like, God, man, so many times we're so, like, quick to, like, just break each other down instead of building each other up, and, like, it just sucks.
The game, I almost cried on the game's Instagram story, bro.
Oh, dude, that one was rough to watch.
That John hurt me, and you could tell he was hurt.
And that's the thing with stuff like that. Like, with stuff like that, I immediately think to people that I know are, like, super close to him. Like, I know, like, Snoop and YG, all those guys are quick, and I haven't seen anything from them though. And those are the guys that, like, especially if you don't hear something from Quick, you're just like, God, they're hurt. Like, when it happened with Mac Miller, like, him and from TD, I'm forgetting his name right now, but like, he's had, like, some close friends that you didn't hear from early on, and it's just like, forget the fact that he was famous and everything like that. You just, like, think of those people that are close to him, and it's just like, that sucks. Like, they just lost the best friend, they just lost a brother. And, like, I just think about that. Like, I lose one of my close friends, lose you or something. Like, I can't even imagine.
Especially when you've been in it in a while too, because especially when I think about the game and Snoop.
Oh yeah, they're old heads. They're, like, better.
They made it.
Yeah.
They're alive. Like, and ask each one of those dudes. None of them dudes should be alive.
Yeah.
And it sucks. It sucks anyway. But especially now to be at an age where you're like, man, we made it. Like,
we've lived through it, and, like, and especially, I mean, you wanna talk about a crazy story. It's like the story of Snoop Dogg from, like, where he started to where he is now. I mean, there's this podcast called Disgraceland, and it's a really interesting podcast, and dude basically goes through and tells some of, like, the craziest stories involving musicians. Like, I've listened to one he did about Bob Marley. He did one on the Pac Biggie stuff. There's one on I forgot his name, but the most recent one I listened to was the one about Snoop Dogg, and he talked about like, the situation where Snoop Dogg essentially Snoop Dogg almost got caught up in a murder trial, and if he would have been found guilty, he would have done 25 to life. And, like, that's something I had heard about in the past, but I didn't really, like, know the full details about it. And as I learned about it, it's just wild. And, like, you forget where these dudes came from to the point they are now, and you truly don't appreciate it, because you could look at Snoop Dogg now. I mean, you see him on TV with Martha Stewart, and he's like the lovable uncle and stuff like that. But it's just
crazy.
It's one of those, like,
lovable, crazy.
He's what, 2-3 times older than me, but, like, I can look at that and just, like, appreciate that. And, like, I love Snoop Dogg. Like, the day we lose Snoop Dogg is gonna be one of the saddest days ever in, like, LA, and I don't want to, like, kind of think about that and stuff, but because he's just become such a cultural figure. But it's just cool seeing, like, I think even for me, I've learned to do this better, where it's so, I think the issue with Twitter and social media is so quick to just throw your criticism. Everyone's a critic. Everyone's
So
a critic.
fast.
Everyone's a critic. Even I mean, us doing this podcast is in our way of like being critics and stuff like that. And so
getting our voice or getting our
yeah,
stuff out there.
yeah. And so it's so quick to like be able to critique someone and all, but you just don't know the deeper story of it.
Right.
And I think this Nipsey, like his death, was just the epitome of that. And I think it's just it shined a light on all the good he was doing to people who'd never heard of him before. And I love that people are like never heard of him before, but just seeing like, man, this man was making impact in his community. I want to honor him, and like I want to show my respect for that in some way, and I think that's dope. It just it's crazy, man. And I think because this goes along with what we've been kind of talking about in past also, with just I think a lot of things. Like, we've talked about how the Me Too movement's going to, like, eventually catch up with the hip-hop community and all. But I think more of it, like, just all this violence and stuff where, like, I think it needs to get to the point where, like, there's just, like, the narrative of like what the rap, like the music, the narrative of the stuff in the music that's being sent out there needs to change. Like, and then some people like, some people might be truly telling about the story, like what they've lived through and stuff. But like for some, it's like you're just spewing a whole lot of like falseness, like. Do you need to be rapping about guns and stuff like that and all? And I don't know. I don't know how to navigate that because it's so hard. But it's just like that's part of the issue.
We've had this conversation in the past, and there are two types of people that rap about that stuff. There's a type of person who knows, they have a self-awareness. Most people don't choose that life. Yeah. Most people who are in it don't choose it. You just talk about the communities that people find themselves in. Especially what you read earlier, I think, again, hits the nail right on the head. I think people oversimplify certain communities in a certain culture. They oversimplify it. Like, yes, this particular activity is against the law. But if that is what the only thing that you're going to focus on, you have a drastic misunderstanding of what some of these kids are born into. And then there's the person that wasn't in it very long or wanted to be in it really, really bad. Yeah. And you can tell by the way, by their music. And the way they carry themselves and the way they talk about it, because if you ask any of the people who, lost friends, if you ask any of them, they'll tell you, ain't nothing cool about this, bro. No. This is just how I happened to get out. Yeah. And I think I told you this the other day. This had me messed up, and this was weeks ago. This had me messed up just thinking about it, and I think Derek Minor had liked it, so it showed up on my feed. And he had quote tweeted it with just the praise hands or whatever. Yeah. So some dude he knows had said, "Hey, I just got a text from one of my guys back home. He said, I'm making so much money for this music right now, I'll never have to sell drugs again." And a lot of people don't understand the significance of that. Yeah. They just don't understand the significance of that. Where it's like, well, why are you selling drugs in the first place? As if it's that easy. Literally, yeah. As if it's that easy. Yeah. And the people who glorify it and act like, oh yeah, this is the life. Most of those cats either weren't in it long, or they were around it and they wanted to be in it, so they glorify it. So people are dead, bro. And they ask anybody who has somebody die near them, and you'll hear there's a very different tone that come from those type of people. Again, like Jay-Z, Snoop Dogg, them cats. Ask those cats.
Yeah.
You can go up on YouTube and find out. Like they'll say the same stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was doing it. Yeah, I was crazy, but people were dying, and at some point I knew that business had to be something other than kilos.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, something about the music's got to change. Something about the culture's got to change. You talked about even phrases that come from the culture, things that we say, things that we use, measurements that we use to judge one another. It's kind of wild, but I'm hoping that at the very least we do not let this dude pass in vain by at least taking a look at how we communicate with one another, how we build each other up, and how we might be tearing each other down. So,
yeah, and I mean, if you just want to get a glimpse of like just kind of what we're getting at, like Ice-T, like he tweeted something yesterday. He said, "Growing up in the hood and surviving is not a simple accomplishment. There are far more horror stories than victories. I can't explain how bad I feel about yesterday's tragedy. We can say it shouldn't have happened all we want, but it did. I'm heartbroken." And yeah, it's just like dudes like Ice-T that like live through that, have experienced it and know it, and it's like it's so true with that. And I think it's cool. I think it's like with someone like Nipsey, and you hear just all the good he's done in the community and all the country's mourning his death, but like that happens daily. I mean, Chicago, like the violence that's going on in Chicago has been going on for a while now, and
bro, decades, bro. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'll just see random stuff pop up about it where it's just like people are dying left and right, and it's one of those things where it's like it's crazy out there. And like as much as we get exposure through social media, there's also there's still a lot we don't see up until like you get a significant death, and then you kind of get and then you kind of get into a glimpse of it, and you're like, oh, like this shit is wild.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't even know what, like, it's just weird because after that it's like, where do we go from here? Like, because I think this is along the lines of like when you get a school shooting that happens, it's come to the point where it's almost like a norm. So it's like we mourn for a couple days and then we just kind of move on until the next event essentially happens. And like it's just at what point, when's the breaking point? Like obviously we're not going to stop all the gang violence now. And I think sometimes, as sad as it is, I think sometimes it takes a tragedy for like there to be change. And so I think especially for LA, for that community, like this death, like I know it's going to have an impact in such a huge way, where like just how the way the city's going to react, the way gang members, the way like just that whole community is going to react. And I'm hoping it'll have a ripple effect in other area, in other communities, and not even beyond that. It's just even with some of these artists, some of these hip hop artists, just like the way they realize, like, yo, you got a huge platform, you got a huge following, and just how are you using that to better your community, and just living through the example that Nipsey set.
No, you're exactly right, and it's hard for me to have more to say, because when you even said just now, like, where do you go from here? I'm so used to thinking that thought, like asking internally that question, that I was, and again, this is a different situation. I'll say this straight up. I recognize a very different situation, but I was so taken aback by New Zealand's response to the Christchurch shooting.
Yeah, almost immediately.
I was unaccustomed, because it was almost like my mind's mouth formed its lips to say, dang, what now? And before I could even get the sentence out of my brain, New Zealand was like, all right, that's it. We're going to do a vote right now.
Yeah.
And obviously, again, government is involved, right? Government has the ability to stem and to like curtail gun laws. So obviously this situation is very different, but I wonder who that unofficial governing body is going to be, who's like, all right, and this is not me condoning illegal gang activity, but I wonder if there's going to be a community of people that just says, all right, that's it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what that looks like. And because the LAPD been trying to do the all right, that's it for a long time. We see, authorities in general, like that's what they're there for. They're there to go, all right, that's it. Like that's their job. But it's crazy because we now have a situation where it might just have to be the community that says, all right, look,
yeah,
no more.
Yeah, and even with something like that, like I've just tried to look at it like, all right, where can I?
Right.
Like,
right.
It's easy to be like, all right, we gotta do better and stuff like that. But I know for me personally, it's just trying to be like, hey, like, where can I start by just doing something, anything? There's so many ways to just give back and like get involved. And I think even beyond that, it's just like checking up on friends and stuff like that.
Oh, man.
Checking up on people and like, cause like it's just a reminder. I mean, one day you're here, next day you're gone. Like, this life is short-lived. Can't take it for granted. All our lives is timed, and we don't know when it's gonna be gone. And so, like, I think especially for me, it's something that's been through, like, just growing through it, where it's like I have a tendency to hold on to petty shit, and like it's just been trying to learn to like grow through that.
Yeah,
it's just one of those, because like, man, like, hold on to something and you lose someone, and like you gotta live with that.
Yeah,
like that's tough, and I don't ever want to like have that be the case.
Right. It's crazy. The most valuable lesson I've learned in becoming an adult, I don't know what's official adulthood, bro. I'm 28 years old. I feel like I've been making my official transition to adulthood for about a decade now, and it's crazy because I was the type of person that was aware of my need to learn lessons, but you could never really predict what those lessons are gonna be. Like, I gotta learn how to talk to girls. I gotta learn how to balance a budget. Like, I gotta learn how to apply for a job. I gotta learn, all that type of stuff. And those were all things that I learned. But one of the most important things that I had the opportunity to learn and growing to be an adult was building relationships. Because I sucked at it. Like, I was absolutely terrible. I remember moving from California, bro. I literally talked to nobody after I left California. I remember the first time when I, like, my freshman year, my parents were so mad at me. I never called home, bro. I never called home. It wasn't even till college that I had to figure out how to like legit keep up with people.
Yeah.
And I had a similar thought. Was I'm on Facebook and literally cats I went to middle school and high school with in jail for XYZ.
Yeah.
And this is somebody like, we're talking recess, bro. Recess, third period, the whole nine. And it's like, and I lamented my younger self that was so bad at that, growing to be an adult and staying connected and keeping connected, because I was never gonna have I'm probably never gonna have contact with that person ever again. Never gonna have that opportunity. And I don't know. One of the biggest things that I learned as becoming an adult is, okay, in your immediate circle, how can you have an impact? How can you make a change where you are? How can you be a positive impact where you are? And that's what I like. If you're listening, You don't have to do anything crazy. If you want to do something crazy, do something crazy. But just ask yourself, what can I do? Like in my immediate circle, what can I do to be a positive impact?
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, this is just one of those where it's like talking about something like this. There's nothing else we want to talk about, from, because it's just one of those. It's like rather just let it sit.
Yep.
And let it be. Nipsey was doing some good work in Crenshaw, that Compton area, LA, and it showed, like we said numerous times, through the response it got from the community and everyone just around it, people that first time hearing about him, and that part of it is super dope. And to the people that can keep his legacy living on, and we all can in the same way, but like to the people that can, I truly hope so that they're able to do that. And I think we're just gonna see so much work come out of that community even more. And I mean, he was working on opening a restaurant, a barbershop, just little stuff like that, where and so, the simple things with stuff like that, it's like it's like we need more black owned like businesses like that in our communities, and even in communities that might not be prominently black. Like, we need to be supporting our own in those ways. And it just goes back to when people were clowning on Soulja Boy for his video game and stuff like that. It's like, at least dude's trying. Like, at least he's trying. Like, it's one thing.
We out here clowning this dude from our thumbs, bro.
Yeah.
From the couch.
Yeah. I mean.
Come on, dog.
Yeah. He's trying. And
it's your own people.
He it might not be a success, it might not be a failure, but if he fails, that will be a learning path for someone else, and like it just provides for someone else the opportunity to come and do it better. And
failure is at the very least indicative of an attempt.
Yeah.
And my only request to people in general is that if you haven't made an attempt, don't criticize somebody's failure.
Yeah. I mean, this reminds me of a Kanye West lyric in the most, like, just random way possible, but I forgot what song it was, but it was all like essentially, black man gets money, what we do, we buy a Bentley or something like that. White man gets money, they save it and invest it. And it was one of those, he was kind of like poking fun at it, but at the same thing, it was sad because it is like, yeah, we're quick to like flash, like hip hop artists quick to flash their money and stuff like that. And I mean, that's part of the culture and all, but it's just like, all right, like, how are you going to take that money you're making and how are you going to double it?
Yeah.
And I think that's a great learning experience for all of us. We're learning to invest young and be able, like, we need to own our own ish. We need to be opening up our own businesses and all our own stuff and giving back to our community in our own way. And I think that's what Nipsey's legacy is going to be. He was a great example of that. Using his platform, the money he was bringing in, and being able to give back in his community, which was dope. So, rest in peace, Nips. You made your impact, and it's going to definitely live on for ages. And you got people, there's going to be people talking forever, carrying on his legacy, which is dope. And I think that's the greatest way we can respect what he was doing, and just letting this tragedy not just be another tragedy, and really letting it be a shift in the culture, just the way we look at things. And I think when stuff like this happens, it opens up important conversations that we gotta have. And let's have those conversations and change ish. Yeah. Because it needs to happen.
For sure. And it's okay to, and I'll even say this. This is a space where you and I get to have some of these conversations, but it's only two perspectives. So Culture Discourse Podcast is always open to those with and willing to contribute their perspective. So hit us up. We're gonna get this posted pretty quickly, and by we I mean Ben, because my man's the man when it comes to that stuff. But we look forward to hearing what you think, what your thoughts are. Be respectful. We appreciate it. Man, you can follow me at Chase Actually on Twitter. My Instagram is dead. Don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about my Instagram.
I'm basically done with Instagram. I just keep it because my job involves social media.
That's literally the only reason I still have it.
Literally the reason I keep all my, and it's pretty funny because I'm like basically pursuing like looking at some jobs in social media because I already do that, and like looking at some just potential other. Mm-hmm. It's everything involves social media, but I'm like at a point where I really hate social media, so it's just like I could right now live with Snapchat, but I love Snapchat because Snapchat's the one of all social media where it's not perfection, where just people are like,
oh yeah,
it's more of like imperfections. Yeah, where people are just like, hey, like here's me singing obnoxiously to a song and stuff like that, and like so I just love posting stupid ish on Snapchat, but minus that, like even Twitter, like I love Twitter, but Twitter sometimes I need to take a break from it because, like we were saying earlier, people just got hot takes they want to push out, and it's just one of those to get people riled up, and a lot of y'all, and I'm even victim of that sometimes, where you give them the retweet, and give them the clout they want, they're chasing.
Yeah. Anyway,
so
get up out of here.
Yeah, I'm gonna get out of here. Follow us at C Discourse Pod. Follow us there. Post episodes. Should be having my boy Corey joining us next week.
It's about time. Overdue.
I know. I texted him today at 3 p.m. and he was like, "Bro, can you give me a heads up a little longer than like 3 hours before, 4 hours before?" So I was like, "My bad, dog.
We need perspective."
I know. I've kept saying this, but nah, I gotta get into it with him about LeBron because he's a huge LeBron guy. Yeah, I ain't, but
I'm probably gonna be doing a lot of listening on that episode.
yeah, no, it's gonna be fun. But no, we're gonna talk about a lot of basketball, but it's not just back and forth stuff. I got some other fun stuff I want to get into it with him. Yeah. So hopefully it works out. Hopefully we'll have him on with us next week. Culture Discourse Podcast. Thanks for listening. Follow, subscribe, tell your friends about us. I don't know. Trying to get 2 more followers, maybe.
Hey, let's go.
Get the listening up a little bit.
What episode we on?
Bro, we like a 36 or something. I think we had like it's been officially a year. I'm pretty sure since we've been doing this.
Dang, bro.
So which is wild. It flew by. So it's been dope. It's been fun doing this, and even if 2 people are listen to it, bro, I don't care.
Wait till we get the studio, bro.
Yeah,
this coming up.
This is our little vent session intervention.
Yeah.
So thanks for listening, joining the ride, and hey, if you ever want to get on, look, we got no pride. We got no
man.
We ain't prideful about anything. Reach out.
It doesn't need to just be us.
Yeah, reach out. You never know. We'll let you on.
We want to know what the streets.
We'll let you on.
We want to know what the streets have to say.
As long as you ain't got no dumb hot takes.
Yeah. We'll hang up on you.
Yeah. Hit you.
We'll hang up.
Hit you with the Okay.
Dang, dude. Yeah.
I wish they still had the
simulated. I'm telling you.
The hang up.
Bro, wait till we get the soundboard. And oh my gosh, we can be clicking on folks.
All right, so we're gonna get on out of here. Culture Discourse Podcast.